Okay. Heidi ho, neighbors. Goji here, and yes, this is what I look like. I'm the most handsome person in the world. And if you haven't noticed, I've been kind of putting almost year 3 of my 2-week hiatus, and I guess I just decided to wait until now to tell everyone where I've been and what's been going on and why haven't I finished Baldur's Gate yet. Damn it. Um, there's a lot of explanation going to be going on here. And I do apologize if the video quality is not great or if anything like that. I'm kind of recording off of my phone. I don't have a special stand or anything to put the stand on. If I did have a stand, so I'm just holding my phone in front of me, looking into the selfie camera, and basically just spilling my guts here. Now, first off, I do want to kind of what's the word I'm thinking of? Yeah, I'm doing this, unscripted. Like always, I always do things unscripted. And the two of you who actually watch my video should know that by now. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm just sorry that the first video you saw of me, or the latest one, I guess, after 3 years, was me explaining myself. But I did want to kind of go into more detail as to why I haven't been recording anything, or at the very least why I got burned out on the 3 games that I've been playing, which are obviously Baldur's Gate, which I started almost 5 years ago, never completed, still kind of I think I broke part 100, but yeah. Still a ways to go on that one. Pokemon Red and Dragon Warrior 2. Now, obviously, I think I said this in my past update video, but I kind of got burned out for doing 3 RPGs at once. That's kind of a tall order, and I don't know why I did that. And now I do eventually. Let me just start. Let me just say this pretty much straight out. I do plan on coming back to this stuff. I just haven't really had the drive to do so recently. Until like I don't know, maybe a few days ago. When I really got to thinking about it, and because this is kind of a I want to say a life's goal for me to, eventually get to a point where I can start, doing this kind of thing for a living, because I really do enjoy it. It was just, like I said, I was getting burned out on doing 3 RPGs at once, and when I do get back to doing it, I'm only going to tackle 1 RPG at a time. I'm not going to do this, 3 RPGs at once bullshit. Oh no, Rado said a swear. Yes, I'm thinking of dropping that. I actually kind of did. I'm dropping that little restriction on myself because in real life, I cuss like a sailor, so I'm just gonna, let it out. And it's especially going to be kind of hard, considering one of the future things that I have in store for you lovely people, which I'll get to a bit down the road in this video. But first off, I do want to kind of explain myself for the 3 RPGs as to why I pretty much haven't been able to bring myself to go back to them lately. I do want to start off with Pokemon Red, because that is kind of the lesser of 3 evils here. I'm just at a point where it's just kind of long and tedious, because for those of you who don't know the context of it, I'm on Route 13, going from Lavender Town to Fuchsia City, and there are a lot, and I mean a lot of trainers on the way there. I've had to already go back and forth quite a few times. If I remember correctly, the last couple videos were both called like Route 13 and more Route 13. So there's just a lot going on with that. Also, I'm kind of in a position nowadays where my brain is registering I can't go back to Gen 1. I mean, no offense to any fans of Gen 1, but I'm just not as big a fan of Gen 1 as everyone else is. I'm more of a Gen 2/Gen 2 remake fan. That's just how I am on everything as far as Pokemon goes. And Gen 1 just has a lot of stuff going against it for me. For example, the type system is actually quite unbalanced because of glitches and oversights. The inventory system is terrible. I think I actually mentioned that during the playthrough, but the inventory system is not good. Plus, usually when I get to a point where I'll play Gen 1, I would want to rather play Leaf Green. And quite frankly, I don't know why I didn't do that instead of just going to Red. Maybe it was a continuity thing in my mind at the time. Hell, I don't even know why I planned, because I actually planned on going to Gold after I was done with Red. And I'd rather play Heart Gold than Gold. I mean, don't get me wrong, Gold is great. But I like Heart Gold a lot more. I'm more of a fan of, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I still got like nostalgia out the wazoo for these games, and I'm not trying to say that Gen 1 is crap. I do really like Gen 1. I have a lot of, fond memories of it and whatnot, but there are better games in the series, and, I know that the Gen 1 games are coming out on the Virtual Console this month, or in February. I don't know when you're watching this, they might already be out. Greetings from the past. But I'm not really sure if I'm going to get one. I'm on the fence. I may. But I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things on as far as this channel goes, so I'm just going to drop the subject there. Dragon Warrior 2, I pretty much got myself into trouble in the first place with that, because that was the first time that I had played the damn game in 13, 14 years. I played it on the Game Boy Color when the Game Boy Color version came out. I did get farther than I am now, but I got a lot farther than I am now, but I got to the point where I was getting the Thunder Sword, and then for whatever reason I just kind of, shied away from it, played other games, and then never got back to it. And the way where I am now, I'm pretty much hopelessly, irrevocably lost as far as I know. I need to actually go back, watch the videos with a map, and pinpoint where I am and where I need to go still. And also the multitudes of freaking random encounters are turning me around in that. But it's just a game I don't really have a lot of experience with, and I do want to, like I said, I am going to finish all three of these games eventually. But at the same time, I'm kind of irky on Dragon Warrior 2 right now. That's why I had, basically rage quit for a few seconds, and then said, okay, never mind, I'm going to go back to it, and then never did. Baldur's Gate. I'm pretty much in a mindset now where, when I first started the LP of it, I was like, oh yeah, Baldur's Gate, that's like one of my favorite games ever made, and it's really not as much now. Don't get me wrong, I still like it. I still think it's a great game, but there are a lot of other games that I'd rather be playing. I don't think Baldur's Gate and say, oh, immediately I gotta play this. But I'm also very much at a point that I was actually dreading from the beginning with this game, and that's the bit with all the sirens everywhere. If you've followed along with the walkthrough or the Let's Play, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I don't really remember sirens being everywhere like that. I remember dreading the 3 that I know that I'm going to be coming up with to get a special magic item. But I don't remember them being like everywhere else on the freaking map. That's not something that I remember at all. And it got really frustrating because sirens, as seen, are a pain in the ass to kill, especially when they keep dire charming you, and they do. But yeah, this was basically a part that I was dreading from the beginning, and that's more or less why I've rage quit for now on that, because I'm really not looking forward to it. And it's basically, those are the reasons why I haven't really been willing, or I really couldn't have brought myself to go back to the games. The original, because now, segueing into my next topic, which is where I've been the past 3 years, kind of like a little structured essay here, fun for all. I'm laughing at my own jokes, aren't I? I try not to. I'm just laughing at myself more or less. But okay, the initial plan was, I think to myself, I'm getting, burned out on these games. I got to have a break from them. And a friend of mine and I were going to go to visit another friend of ours who lives in Ohio. And we did. And my plan was, okay, once I get back from Ohio, I will start recording again. And that didn't happen. It was a lot of... I was playing Final Fantasy XI at the time. I think I mentioned that. And I met a really kick-ass, cool group of friends on there. And that's basically where it went. And And I just was like, okay, I mean, I still don't really want to go back to doing these parts in the games, and I just want to play Final Fantasy for a bit. So, so I was like, well, in a little bit, I'm going to be going to Otakon anyway. So I'll, go to Otakon and come back and start recording again. And I went to Otakon, but when I came back, that whole thing with, going back to recording didn't happen. Surprises. And it got to a point where I just, just sunk into, not necessarily just sunk into playing Final Fantasy. I also got depressed quite a bit. There was a point where I really pretty much almost hit rock bottom, and I probably would have stayed there if not for good news. But basically, one of the main things that was getting me down was as time goes on, I realized, I'm perpetuating myself into this stereotype, this nerd stereotype that the nerd stereotype I didn't want to be a part of. Mainly, oh my God, I'm pushing 30. I'm still living with my parents. I only have a part-time job at a game store. I don't have a significant other in my life. Still don't on the last one. I'm not going to get too much into that. But yeah, I was getting pretty down on that. I eventually did end up applying for a full-time job. A friend of mine was a supervisor at the regional shipping company's customer service call center. Again, I don't really give out the names of the companies and whatnot, kind of changing the names to protect the innocent sort of thing. I don't want to end up in a bunch of hot water because I just mentioned the name of a company that I was affiliated with or am affiliated with, and that's just a whole can of worms I don't want to get into. I'm fairly sure nothing bad would come from it, but just to be on the safe side, And anyway, like he said, I started off, $10 an hour, full-time job benefits and everything. I'm like, well, that sounds like something I might want to sign up for. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. I have a bit of an anxiety, I think. At least that's what I more or less. Sorry about the shaking and switching hands on the phone here. We've more or less determined it was, or at least I kind of determined it was. I haven't seen a doctor or anything, so I don't have a professional opinion on the matter. But being on the telephone with people I don't know makes me anxious. So I was going into the right job, and this kind of does sort of go into other, like, electronic devices or squawk boxes. Like, I get the same kind of anxiety when I would go through the drive-thru at Taco Bell or something like that. That's why I don't go through drive-thrus at restaurants and go inside instead, because I don't want to deal with that kind of bullshit. So I applied in October of 2013. I got called back for an interview, which was fantastic. The interview went pretty well, and then they didn't call me back for a while. So I ended up, even though I was really excited about quitting Game Store and starting my new full-time adult job, I actually ended up having to work the holiday at the Game Store. And it really became apparent, it was really becoming apparent during that time period that I wasn't really happy at the Game Store. I wasn't getting a lot of hours, because Game Store is corporate, and, forgive me if I'm crossing too many boundaries, people who still work at Game Store, but I felt corporate really didn't care about you unless you were a store manager. They still run things pretty stupidly, in my opinion. I mean, it's not really my place to, I'm not going to go, I'm going to, change the world by bringing this message out. I mean, it's their company. They can run it as stupidly as they want to. But I wasn't getting any hours. I wasn't getting paid crap. I wasn't even getting $100 in a paycheck. And then eventually, they screwed me out of my my health benefits. And I was that's why from time to time. Sorry, switching hands again. That's why it's a little wibbly. I helped out my mom with her costuming business because I needed the extra income, even though, I was still living at home. And, it it was just bad times all around, in my opinion. I mean, it wasn't bad working for my mom. I mean, it was pretty lax stuff, cutting out patterns and whatnot while watching the X-Files. I remember specifically doing that one time. And and eventually got to a point where that February 2014, Final Fantasy XI wasn't that active anymore, and neither were Xbox Live parties because of a couple of circumstances. First off, Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn had come out, and most of the people on 11 jump ship to 14. I wasn't willing to do that, and thus there was like almost nobody on 11. And I'm like, oh well, my friends don't want to play with me, I guess. So that made me kind of depressed. I couldn't really do much in Xbox Live parties because everyone had an Xbox One and PS4 at the time, and I had an Xbox 360 and a PlayStation 3 and a Wii U. And I was like, well, nobody wants to talk in a party with me. And I was watching. I remember this kind of because it was probably the lowest I've really been. And apologies if this sounds too depressing for you, but I basically sat there for nigh on half an hour while Netflix was asking, "Are you still watching Dragnet?" And I was just I had been drinking. I was alone in my room. I wasn't talking to anybody, and I got to a point where, okay, I'm desperate for attention now. I need to bitch on Facebook. And I wrote like this long essay called How I've Been Feeling Lately. And it did get some responses from some friends of mine. My friends are awesome. So if you're watching this, friends, you know who you are. You're awesome, and I love you very much. It probably would have gotten a lot worse if the next freaking day I didn't get a call back, finally get a call back from the shipping company. They're like, hey, you still looking for a job here? Because we kind of want you to come on over. And I'm like, yes, please. I immediately put in my 2 weeks at the game store, and I had another, not really an interview, but, setting up for, my drug test. And my drug test adventures, that's going to be a topic for another day, let me tell you. But the beginning of March, I was set up for my new job, and yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I hadn't been recording anything or anything like that in 2014 was because I was working 40 hours a week. And it did go pretty well. That first year, it did get to a point like a couple months in where the anxiety really started hitting full force. And, while I was still doing my job well enough to, stay on, because the people there really like me. It's a good company. I think it's a good company to work for. In my experiences, I like all the people I work with. And, the management, really does seem to care about me. So that's a plus. That's a huge plus. And, now I'm in a position, back in this past March, I got kind of sideways promoted to a position where I'm really not on the phone anymore. I mainly deal with customer emails, and I do take calls if, merchants call in to check on, like, escalated packages or something like that. But we very rarely talk to customers, and that is a huge weight off my chest for me. And I'm very much content now in the position I'm at my job. This past January, not this January, but like almost a year ago, pretty much in 10 days it'll be a year. After almost like the day or two after MagFest, I moved out of my parents' house. A friend of mine's brother was looking for a new roommate, and I was acquainted with his brother before. But I decided to take him up on the offer, and I moved out the very end of January last year. And so I've been, I only live like maybe 5 minutes away from my parents, so it's not that big of a trek, but I'm on my own. I have a full-time job. I'm doing pretty well. I mean, I have been a little bit more lonely and depressed in the past few days. That's mostly self-inflicted somehow. I know I have friends, I have a PS4 now, so I can talk to my friends and whatnot, play games, but lately, it seems I've just been getting really tired when I got home. I just got home from work not too long before I started recording this, because my schedule is like 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then like 8 to 5 on Saturday. So that's why I haven't really been recording much, because it's kind of a weird schedule. And Fridays I see my parents every Friday, so there's that. But I climbed the stairway to maturity. But more recently, I've been really thinking about getting back into the whole YouTube Let's Play thing. It's kind of been a thing in my mind where I've had these kind of illusions of, oh, look, I'm a, the YouTube superstar and whatnot. And I really do. I was, seeing some of these people I have, I'm subscribed to, and how they've more or less are living their dreams now of just, making videos and whatnot, and this is how they make their living. That's the kind of thing I want to do, especially considering two people in particular, Markiplier and Danny from Game Grumps, aka Danny Sexbang from Ninja Sex Party, are probably my two biggest influences in this kind of decision. Especially, Markiplier started Let's Playing after me, and he's up to 10 million subscribers at this point, coming out with videos every day, and, people love him, and I've, been, my Let's Play channel, I think I posted my first video 2010, and I maybe had 100 subscribers at one point. And, hearing one episode of Game Grumps when Danny was talking about, oh, I've realized now that I make enough money to quit my job, my day job, and just, make a living doing music and Game Grumps. And I'm like, that's the kind of thing that I really want to do eventually. And I realized that the main thing that I really need to do is really put work into it. And I don't know how well it's going to pan out. I'm not a frickin' fortune teller, but I hope to one day be as successful as Markiplier or the Game Grumps in my endeavors. Of course, I do it mainly because it's fun for me, but being in a position where I can do the things that I love and make a living doing it sounds very appealing to me. That's pretty much the long and short of it. And as it stands now, what I'm going to try to do these little vlog things just to keep myself in the whole recording spirit. So hopefully this will be the first of many. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to, keep a regular schedule or anything like that. I want to, but like I said, I'm not a frickin', I can't predict the future. And, who knows? Maybe it might even end up like the last couple times I've had comebacks, and then, a few months later I've stopped, and then stopped for, a year or 3 years in the case of this past hiatus. But, hopefully I'll be able to, stick with some kind of a plan, stick with some kind of a schedule to keep pumping videos out, and, hopefully gain the support of people, and, people who can, watch the videos and have a good time watching them and feel like, hey, this RadoGoji, he's an okay guy. I think I want to see more of him. And, I can only hope that, people have as much fun watching the videos as I do making them. Because my past Let's Play videos, I had the time of my life making them. It was real. It's a really, really fun experience. And, I want to kind of evolve this whole thing. And I'm going to MagFest this year, so it's not going to be anytime soon where we're going to be seeing any, new Let's Play videos or anything like that. But after I get back from MagFest, I'm going to start saving up for better video equipment and capture equipment and whatnot. I do have a couple of things that I want to do. I mean, first off, I want to finish the Let's Plays that I currently have on hold. But Soylent Greg, who some of you may remember from the Doom Deadly Premonition Let's Multiplay, and I have been talking quite a bit lately. And at some point, we want to, or I don't know how, again, I don't know how things will be in the future, because Greg does have a family and everything that, and the family comes first. But, he and I, we've been friends for, over almost 17 years, over 17 years now, almost 18 now. But I'm not trying to influence you in any way, Greg, because I know you're watching this. But we've been talking about doing our own little gaming Let's Play channel, similar to Game Grumps. I mean, I even was thinking to myself this morning, like, hey, we've even got a parallel where he's a musician, and I used to do things on the internet. Kind of like, Danny's a musician, and Aaron used to be, I think he still does his animations, but he used to be doing that all the time before Game Grumps. But, I mean, I don't want to make any assumptions about what he's been, I am just putting my foot in it, aren't I? But yeah, we do want to do that. We do want to have like a, kind of a Game Grumps dual Let's Play thing. So if anything, the 3 Let's Plays that I have going on right now will probably either be incorporated into that, or they'll be my last solo Let's Plays. But I also want to do a review show. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, everyone does review shows all the time. You're just going to be ripping off the Angry Video Game Nerd and Spoony One and whatnot. I'm thinking to myself, that's still what I want to do. I mean, it's going to be, the reviews on, video games, movies, TV shows, toys, whatever may come to mind. I have a lot of things that, I may want to talk about at any one given moment. But, that'll be like the RadoGoji show of the future. But as it stands right now, like I said, I'm gonna try keeping these vlogs a normal thing, like a regular thing, and hopefully people will really get into that. I really doubt people will. It's just me talking to the camera for, in this case, nigh on half an hour, talking into my phone. But like I said, after I get back from MagFest in February, I plan on saving up for, actual recording equipment and whatnot, and hopefully starting up Greg's gaming project, and eventually the RadoGoji show, which is this is the tentative title right now. I don't know if there's going to be anything more clever to call it later, but at the moment it's the RadoGoji show in my head. I mean, I've been, I do a lot of the review thing. It's just, I do reviews to myself in the car on my way to and from work. So that's how kind of into it I really am. But hopefully here's to, at least a regular segment with this. Here's to a good future on YouTube. Hopefully my hopes and dreams will come true. And I hope you'll be along for that with me. So until then, I've been RadoGoji, and I'll be here next time. Join me, won't you?